What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? This is going to be your review of Love and Hip Hop New York Season 9, Episode 8. Now, first and foremost, before we get started, you see my shirt. It says Stand with Bennett. If you've been looking at my videos, you know I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Asking for donations to Bennett College to help keep our accreditation, keep the doors open so many young women can get a wonderful education. Cash App is $ Stand with Bennett, and any other donation information will be in the description. You can click the link, all that good stuff. You can even text it. It's in there. I think the text is text the bells, BELLES at 444999, but it'll be in the description box. Now, this was another really good episode of Love and Hip Hop from the point of view of some real storylines, like some real shit that I talk all the time about when reality TV meets reality. And I think tonight's episode we probably had about 3 of the storylines that were some real shit. So let me get the bullshit out the way so we can get to the real shit. So Sydney Star, let me tell y'all something. I am sick of Sydney Star. I'm sick of Sydney Star's storyline. And I'm damn sure sick of Sydney Star and her non-rapping ass, okay? If y'all have her spit bars one more goddamn time and she do the, trans queen in the house. Like, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of all of it. And this is not about trans, none of that. It's just her. She can't rap. She's got a bad attitude, and she doesn't really want anybody's help. Her and Naya, this whole situation where Naya's supposed to be helping her last week, she gave her some clothes. And here's the thing. In this day and age, there's certain things that I'm no longer going to accept from people. And I'm no longer going to accept that you don't understand how the business works. I'm no longer going to accept that you don't understand that there are certain things that you have to do and don't have to do as far as playing the game when it comes to being in the business. You know there's a game to be played. And if they're telling you, look, you have to look a certain part, you have to dress a certain part in order to get respect, there's a difference between being on stage with your ass and titties hanging out versus your everyday look and how you show up to business meetings and how you show up to meet people. And they're trying to explain that to you. That dress that Naya gave you last week was a beautiful dress, and you still it was a tight dress, so it still accentuated all your curves and stuff. So her and Jonathan, they know each other from they met at a Pride event. They're friends and all that great stuff. Jonathan invited her to come to his master class. He's doing makeup classes. Naya was his model, right? Sydney showed after she sat on the bar and with her non-rapping ass. Jonathan didn't even have nothing to say. He couldn't even comment. It was so bad. So then, excuse me, you show up to the class. First of all, you late. You missed the whole damn class. You get there. You done took the dress that she gave you last week and you done cut the shit up to the point where it's really just unrecognizable at this point. And you got everything hanging out again. And then you and Naya get to arguing and you bucket Naya like, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with her? And Jonathan was like, look, you don't bucket no New York girl. If you buck, you better mean it. And I'm like, what is wrong with her? So, yeah, that storyline, boom, out the way because I'm sick of it. And if y'all have her non-rapping ass stand up on somebody's mic one more time and spit some bullshit bars. Because she was talking about something, I want to be as big as Cardi B. Jonathan going to say, well, are you as talented as Cardi B? Maybe. Probably not. Alright, so let's talk about this first real storyline that we have going on. So we have Sin and Joe Buttons. They go to therapy. Because remember last week we ended with Joe like, look, you need to go see a therapist. You are dealing with postpartum. Boom, boom, boom. So they bring a therapist in. It's a therapist that he's dealt with in the past when he was going through his issues and his depression and trying to reconnect with his son. They talk or whatever, and he was really raw. He told her, look, I fell in love with my friend, what I don't want to see happen is this relationship and this family fall apart because this is really my second chance. And he's vulnerable and he's crying and all that great stuff. So then they bring Sin in, and the therapist talks to Sin, and what we find out is she doesn't trust people because as a child, she was violated by a babysitter because her mother was working, 2 and 3 jobs. She was a single parent, and she left the children with people she thought she could trust. And come to find out, Sin was raped by a woman when she was 5, I think it was. And so she said, she hadn't even told her mother this. This is something that she had shared with Joe and she shared with a few other people, but she hadn't even really shared it with her mom. And she said, that's why I really don't trust people with my child. I don't want people around my child because I went through this and this was somebody that my mom trusted. She said, I don't even let people change my child's diaper. And so they bring Joe back in the room and they have a conversation. And the doctor says, look, I really don't think this is postpartum depression. I think this is you dealing with the aftermath or dealing with the trauma of your violation. You not wanting to get a nanny, you not wanting to leave the child alone. That's not necessarily postpartum so much as is you went through these things and you want to protect yourself and protect your child, what have you. So they talk or whatever, and they seem to, and they seem to have a moment. You know what I mean? They seem to have a really good moment. And later on, we see them go out. They want a double date with the Mackeys with Remy Ma and Papoose, and come to find out, Joe tried to set aside a date night, and he was trying to surprise Sin. Sin was out with her friends having a good time, at the club, dancing and all this other good stuff, and ended up standing Joe up. And it really was a miscommunication on both parts because Joe was trying to surprise her and, trying to have the little romantic. He took the baby to the sister's house and had the romantic with the lights dimmed and all this other stuff. And Sin was like, I thought it was just going to be another night at home, me watching him sleep. So, I was out with my friends and I lost track of time. By the time I got home, he was asleep. It's whatever. And now all of a sudden Joe was like, man, I was trying to have sex. She been trying to have sex with you for the last 10 weeks of this show. She been trying to have sex with you. Now all of a sudden you worried about having sex with her. And she was like, he not even trying to be romantic. He just want me to come over and bend over. And I was like, look, now Sin, I understand, boo-boo, that you wanted some sex and now you want the romance. Sometimes you gotta crawl before you can walk. Now, he was giving you some sex. You better take that sex. You better worry about the romance next week. I'm sorry. Sometimes you just gotta take what they offering. It took you this long to get you some. You better take what you getting. So that was their storyline. But again, depression is real. Trauma is real. Certainly sexual assault is very real, right? So that was their storyline. But they seem to be moving in the right direction. Moving towards, Papoose told them they need to just go on and get married. Because when you're married, you can't just walk away so easily. And you have to remember your wedding vows. And you have to, stay where you're supposed to be. Stay in that moment. You can't just be all willy-nilly all over the place. And I'm like, that's easier said than done. I don't think that... I just think that's easier said than done thing, Papoose. You can't get married until you're ready to get married. And, again, crawl before you can walk, boo. Crawl before you can walk. All right. The second really real storyline of this episode, we see Yandy. Yandy went to court to have an emergency hearing so that she could keep Infinity with her. And she was able to get the emergency hearing, so she temporarily, Infinity can stay with her temporarily while while she does the paperwork to become a foster parent, so she can keep Infinity on a more permanent basis. Okay, cool. But Miss Judy, her mother-in-law, got a problem with it. Now, let me tell y'all something. Miss Judy looked good. Miss Judy looked good in that confessional, honey. She got her nice little wig, got the little swoop. Her makeup looks nice. The outfit was very appropriate. And even when she met with Yandy, she looked really nice. I said, okay, for the come up, she looked good. She did. Now, I'm not, And Judy actually didn't get on my nerves this episode because honestly, what Judy was saying really, really wasn't out of order. What Judy was saying was, you have this young lady around my grandchildren. Have you vetted the situation? Have you fully vetted this young woman? Have you talked to the foster parents? Have you talked to her mother? Do you really know what's going on with this young lady? Because you have her around my grandchildren. And Yandy was like, well, they're my children. Like, I'm not going to bring somebody around my children that I feel is dangerous. And I believe that. However, I also think that you might be a little blinded by your love for this young lady. And Judy said, now I've been looking at her Instagram and she don't look like she been in no foster care. She looked like she just a spoiled brat that wanted to give her way. And of course they showed a picture. It looked like she was going to a prom or something with, she looked really nice and her face was all made up and everything. And I said, now you can't go by Instagram. You know what I'm saying? And that's just like anything else. People don't post their failures, okay? People don't post their bad days. They post their good days. So you can't really go by the Instagram because, nobody posts. No, when I say nobody, I know what I'm saying. But generally speaking, on the social media, we see all the success. You don't see the failures. So you can't necessarily go by that. But I do think Judy had a point to say, hey, have you fully vetted this situation? Are you just listening to a 16-year-old child and a 16-year-old child's version of events and taking that for it to be the valid truth? Or do you know the whole story? And I just need to make sure that you have looked into all of that before you have all this girl, whatever, around my grandchildren, good, bad, or indifferent. Now, Yandy was kind of giving Judy the side eye. However, Yandy went and met up with the mama. Now, I don't know who's telling the truth and who's lying, but the mama got a totally different story than what Infinity said. Now, Infinity done told Yandy that she been in and out of foster care her whole life. Mama said she only been in foster care for 4 months. She said that she's a single mother. She does have 6 children, and that Infinity like to do what Infinity like to do when she want to do and how she want to do it. And somebody called social services and said that she was neglecting her child and that there was abuse going on. And so Infinity... Now what I find interesting is if you have 6 children, why is Infinity the only one that left the house? That's the impression I got. I could be wrong. Maybe all 6 children are gone. But if there's a social services situation and they called and said that there's abuse going on in the home, it seems to me like all 6 children would be out the house. I mean, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Put it in the comments if I'm not making no sense. But that just don't make no sense to me. But anyway, so Yandy says, and the mother was saying that, she went to go live with the grandmother at first, but the grandmother has rules. And that Infinity didn't want to follow rules. She didn't want to come in at a curfew. She didn't want to, and that she ran away from home. And they said that basically Infinity is what Judy said. She's a spoiled brat that want to have things her way. Now, she's a teenager, and that's what teenagers do. We push the envelope. I say we. I'm not no teenager, but when I was one, you push the envelope. You do what you want to do. You see how far you can push mama. And I think Yandy started kind of questioning a little bit like, this ain't the story that I got. I wonder how much of this story is what it, this ain't what I was told. And I'm like, see, that's what Judy told your ass. Judy said you need to vet this shit for you got this child up in your home. So later on that day, she goes home, and somehow somebody must have called Infinity and told Infinity that Yandy was meeting up with her mama. So Infinity gets mad and runs off, and they end up having a little moment. And Yandy tells her, look, all this running away ain't cool. Like, what the fuck is going on with you? How you just gonna run out? You just gonna get out the car and just run off? You don't know nobody out here? Because I guess Yandy lived like in New Jersey or, in the suburbs or whatever. She said, you don't know nobody out here? You running around this neighborhood. And she probably wanted to say, we don't have a bunch of black people running around this neighborhood, okay? You can stand out in this neighborhood. But come to find out, Infinity is upset because she's mad that Yandy met with her mother behind her back. She said, well, you going to tell me? Bitch, I don't have to tell you nothing. You are a child. I don't have to question. I don't have to answer to you. I can meet with whoever the hell I want to meet. I shouldn't have called that girl a bitch, but y'all know what I'm saying. I didn't feel like she owed that child. First of all, I think she should have had that conversation with the mama before she involved herself in the situation. I get it that you grew close to this child. You were in the mentoring program, but you said this girl was in your mentoring program for 3 years and you never met the mama, but y'all built a relationship. Stuff ain't making sense to me. Stuff not making sense to me. And you allowed this child... Anyway, I'm not... Because I could do this all night. Y'all know what I'm saying. Stuff ain't adding up, right? It ain't making no sense to me. I just feel like I agree with Miss Judy on this one. Yandy, you should have done all of this recognizance on the front end rather than the back end. And I know that you said you called You called the foster parents and you didn't get an answer. You should have went and knocked on their door. Before you let this child come and living in your house around your children, you don't know nothing about her. Kids lie. Now, I'm not saying that this girl is lying, because she said that, you listening to my mother's side of the story, my mother getting drunk and having men laid up in the house. My mama didn't have nothing to do with me and how I turned out. I'm good in school because I did that. I took it upon myself to be good in school. And that's fine. That may very well be the case. I don't know. But the problem is, Yandy, you don't either. You don't either. And before you put yourself out there and put yourself on the line and gone to court, you probably should have had more answers. But that's just my 2 cents. Somebody, y'all can disagree. Last but not least, okay, in this real storyline episode we have tonight, Rich Dollars and his baby mama, Miracle. Now, we've met Miracle. We've heard of Miss Miracle. Miracle, his daughter Ashley, we've met her before. Miracle is a born-again Christian. Her and Rich said something very interesting tonight, and I'm gonna get to that part. But I believe that Miracle is the one that got away from Rich. I believe Miracle is Rich's true love. And had he not, he said, well, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. He said it tonight. Had he never left Memphis, that the two of them would probably still be together and their family would be together. And he blames himself for a lot of where they are, where the family ended up. Okay, now here's the situation. Miracle, who's the mother of his daughter, shot her husband. Come to find out, they've been in an abusive relationship for a while. And things got to the point where I guess one night Miracle felt like it was me or him, and she shot him. Now, he didn't press charges, but y'all know it ain't always up to the person whether they're going to press charges or not. The DA can make the decision whether they're going to press charges. And what ended up happening was the DA decided they were going to press charges. And they've started off with attempted murder. They've knocked it all the way down to aggravated assault. But here's the problem. Rich didn't know about none of this shit. They kept him in the dark. And Miracle actually was keeping everybody in the dark because she was trying, she was praying on it and hoping that it would just sort of work itself out. I think when the guy first said he wasn't going to press charges, I think she thought, oh, well, it's cool. Not understanding that you not saying you going to press charges don't have nothing to do with whether the DA is going to press charges or not. Right? That's two totally different things. And so Rich went to go talk to his mama about it. And let me tell you something about Rich Mama. I love Rich Mama because Rich Mama give it to you straight with no chaser. Rich Mama said, let me tell you something. You need to get your ass down there or bring them up here. You need to be the father. This is your time to step in and be daddy. You need to find out what's going on with your family, with your daughter. How's your daughter? Because come to find out, the daughter ended up taking the guy to the hospital the night the mama shot him. And only reason why he found out all that was going on was because something with the financial aid fell through, because they filed their financial aid together, and she called Rich to pay the tuition or she was going to be put out of school. Like, that's the only reason why Rich even knew to the extent of what was going on. And so, with all of that being said, Rich, like I said, his mama told him, this on you. You need to go find out what's going on. You bring them up here, you go down there, but you find out what the hell is going on, and it's time to be daddy. Like everything else aside, it's time for you to be daddy. Step in and be daddy. So he ends up bringing Miracle and the mom up, and he ends up talking to them. And him and the mother have a really good conversation to the point where I think she's realizing, like, and this is no disrespect, because I do believe that prayer changes things, but I also believe that God gave us common damn sense. And we got lawyers, we have, we know. So you go get you a lawyer, you go get some help, you find out what your rights are, you find out what you need to do. Your daughter is 19 years old. Unfortunately, she's not a child. You need to let her know what's going on. You need to bring her in. I believe that. Now, some people might say, no, she don't need to know. But if she was grown enough to take that man to the hospital after you shot him, then she's grown enough to understand what's going on. That don't mean you got to tell her every single line and verse of the situation. But she's old enough to understand, especially if it's affecting her financial aid and affecting whether she can finish college or not. Yes, she needs to know what's going on. And Rich kind of laid it out for her and told her that. He was like, look, I wish you had let me know what was going on before it got to this point, because maybe I could have helped. Maybe I could have helped you get out of the situation. Maybe I could, And of course, now we start in hindsight and we blame ourselves and we think we have all the answers, or we could have come up with a better situation or a better solution, I should say. And, excuse me. And he... Later on, they end up having a conversation because he had a one-on-one with Miracle. Then the three of them sat down to have a conversation. And that's when Rich really broke down. And he said, I blame myself for this. Because if I had stayed in Memphis, we'd still be together. And none of this would even be an issue. And that's when I said, this is the one. She the one that got away. In his mind, she is the one. Now, had he stayed in Memphis, maybe it wouldn't have worked out. Who knows? But in his mind, she's the one. She's the one that got away. She's the one. And I say, you saw a different side of Rich tonight. I mean, Rich was very vulnerable, very raw. At the end of the day, he loves his daughter. But now we know he loves Miracle, too. And we see next week where he's going to go to court with her. But it was real. I mean, like I said, this is when reality TV, like Mona couldn't have wrote that script. Your baby mother shot the husband. Like, Mona couldn't wrote that. That's some real shit. That is some real shit. So, it was a good episode, I think, as far as when we're looking at real storylines. But we'll see how things work out next week. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Peace.